and welcome to Africa in 10 Minutes, where we bring to you the trending business news as reported on Footprint to Africa. I'm Chiamaka J. Uwadoka. Ghana's economy grows by 6.6% in the first quarter of 2017. Revamped Sheraton Hotel reopens in Cairo. Angola's oil firm Sonangol records $90 million net profit. World Trade Organization urges African governments to dismantle barriers to trade. Ghana's economy, measured by the GDP, grew by 6.6% in the first quarter of this year. The growth, according to the Ghana Statistical Service, is attributable to the coming on-stream of oil produced from the TEN oil field. According to figures from GSS, the 2017 quarterly growth rate of 6.6% is the highest recorded since the fourth quarter of 2014, when the economy recorded growth rate of 5.6%. Presenting the report, Deputy Government Statistician Anthony Amuzu said, "There was a huge growth in the industry sector. The year-on-year change in oil was 59% compared to the first quarter of last year, and that was because of the coming on-stream of the TEN field, which was not operational in the first quarter of last year. So that contributed to the huge growth you see in the oil and gas subsector." Compared to the same period last year, the economy grew by 4.4%, an indication of the expansion of productive activities in the country from February to March 2017. Moving on, Marriott International has reopened the iconic Sheraton Cairo Hotel and Casino following extensive renovation that features a vibrant aesthetic with modern interiors, refreshed public spaces, and revitalized dining concept. Alex Kyriakidis, President and Managing Director of Marriott International Middle East and Africa, said, "The reopening of this hotel is a milestone in our journey, as it not only showcases our transformation efforts around the Sheraton brand, but also reinstates our commitment to Egypt as a strategic growth market." Opened in 1971, Sheraton Cairo was the first Sheraton hotel in Africa. It is located on the west bank of the River Nile, in close proximity to the Egyptian Museum, Cairo Opera House, and the 70-story Cairo Tower. Marriott International currently operates 18 hotels in Egypt across 7 brands, including JW Marriott, the Ritz-Carlton, Le Méridien, Marriott Hotels, Renaissance, Sheraton, and Westin. It also has 2 additional hotels under advanced development, including Mena House and the St. Regis Cairo. Marriott International brought its signature brand and world amenities to sub-Saharan Africa for the first time in its 90-year history, with the opening of the Kigali Marriott Hotel in Rwanda's capital, Kigali, in October 2016. In April 2017, it opened its first property in Kenya, 4 Points by Sheraton Nairobi, and recently announced plans to debut the Ritz-Carlton brand in Zanzibar, Tanzania in 2021. In energy news, Sonangol, Angola's national oil firm, has recorded a net profit of 13 billion kwanzas, the equivalent of $90 million, in the year 2016, the company's Chief Executive Officer, Isabel dos Santos, revealed. According to the Sonangol CEO, who was speaking at a press conference that served to present the company's 2016 assessment report, the company's 13 billion kwanzas profit and 525 billion kwanzas in earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization reflects a reversal of the trend of abrupt drop in the previous 2 years, thus solidifying the company's recovery base. She stressed that results are fundamental for the company to retake its position as a driving force of the Angolan economy and a generator of wealth for the country. Another positive aspect she revealed was that despite all the conditioning factors in 2016, it was possible to keep the crude oil production above the level of 1.7 million barrels per day, thus placing Angola as #1 producer in the African continent. Isabel dos Santos further explained that the current board of Sonangol, who was inaugurated in June last year, took over at a moment of the economic crisis facing the country, with the company dealing with a 60% fall in its income, a high debt, and low oil prices in the market. In view of such framework, the company initiated a transformation process and put into place measures that have enabled the board to know the reality of Sonangol at different levels and areas. Therefore, given the dimension of the Sonangol Group, as well as the results of studies that were conducted, it was necessary for the board to resort to external assistance, principally in 4 critical and fundamental areas, namely its finances, judicial area, human resources, and strategy. With such restructuration moves, the company managed to increase its income with a program dubbed SONAplus, which yielded $1.1 billion, from which the company has effectively made $260 million. According to Keith Rockwell, the Director of Information and External Relations Division of the World Trade Organization, it takes approximately 9 billion documents to move goods across the globe annually, with the shipper having to pay an extra 1% of the total transaction cost each day that his or her container remains at the border. He has therefore appealed for a speedy ratification of the Trade Facilitation Agreement by member countries that are yet to do so, as it will enhance intra-regional trade and make the continent more competitive in the global commerce space. According to him, the TFA will, among others, reduce the global cost of transactions, incentivize small and medium enterprises to explore and take advantage of grey areas within the export space, and boost foreign direct investments to the continent. He told a gathering of African journalists and civil society organizations in Accra that trade facilitation will save time and money for both producers and consumers, aside from being a big incentive for small and medium businesses in the region. Mr. Rockwell asked African governments to leverage available funds from the WTO Global Trust Fund, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and other donor organizations to enhance their capacity in the facilitation of trade. There are funds available to help digitize customs processes, as well as build capacity towards the effective implementation of the TFA, he stressed, speaking on the topic implementing the TFA, challenges and opportunities for African countries. He added, in this part of the world, there are a lot of barriers to regional trade, but it is critically important that African countries trade more together. Trading with your neighbor is something that should be much easier than trading with people far away, because there are similarities in taste, cultural orientation and proximity. It should be something that takes place on a much bigger scale than it currently does. By 2030, the implementation of the TFA could add up to 2.7% growth in annual exports, move up global GDP to more than 0.5%, with even larger gains for developing countries and LDCs, where current trade costs are equivalent to applying 219% tariff on international trade. And finally this week, Ghana has signed a $10 billion Memorandum of Understanding with China to develop its bauxite industry. Growth in the West African countries slowed sharply in 2014 due to a fiscal crisis and tumbling commodity prices following years of economic expansion at around 8% on the back of gold, cocoa and oil exports. Taking office in January, President Nana Akufo-Addo has outlined a program of job creation through the private sector and rural development. Senior Minister Osafo Mafo revealed that the money will come from the Chinese Development Bank. The implementation of the projects will come from infrastructure agencies in China, like China Railway. The funds from Beijing will contribute towards building a 1,400 km of planned 4,000 km railway network, which will connect bauxite mines and production sites, as well as establish a rail link into neighboring Burkina Faso. That concludes the trending news of the week. Stay tuned for a recap of the stories. Ghana's economy grows by 6.6% in the first quarter of 2017. Revamped Sheraton Hotel reopens in Cairo. Angola's oil firm Sonangol records $90 million net profit. World Trade Organization urges African governments to dismantle barriers to trade. And Ghana signs $10 billion MOU with China to develop its bauxite industry. To keep up with the trending business news in Africa, stay connected. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and connect with us on LinkedIn. This news and reports are called from Footprint to Africa. For daily updates and more business news in Africa, log on to www.footprinttoafrica.com today. Footprint to Africa, business news made in Africa by Africans.